So I was reading the Bible the other day, and I was reading about Moses. He's probably one of my favorite Bible characters. And as I was reading about Moses, I really wanted to get to know, like, more about him, but more about, like, his family as well. And so, because, like, your family has a lot to do with how you're shaped and how, like, you were raised. And so, as I was looking back at his family, someone who really stood out to me was his sister Miriam. Miriam, I think that's how you say it. But so she really stood out to me, and I didn't really know like much about her, and then until like I read about it and I read about her story, and it's really cool. So I'm gonna go back to like when she was little. So like it was Miriam and then her little brother Aaron. And then so Aaron and Miriam, they lived with their family, with their parents who loved God. And they loved God so much, and they would serve him. And during that time, the king put out an order to kill all the new baby boys that were born, because he thought the Messiah would be there and he wanted to kill him. And so during that time, Moses was born, and the mom was so afraid that Moses would be killed, and so she kept him for 3 months, as long as she could. And then she made this basket, and she put Moses in the basket, and she put him in the Nile River. And then as he was going, Miriam, it was really cool because like she watched him go down, and she was like making sure that he went down the river and that he was okay. And then she actually saw Pharaoh's daughter. She saw her pick him up, and she realized that he was safe. And then so Pharaoh's daughter realized that he was a Hebrew, and so Miriam, she's like maybe like 11. She was little, and she goes up to her and she says, "Where do you need a Hebrew woman to nurse him?" Because they didn't have like the powdered milk you just make, the formula. And so she's like, "Yes, I do." So she brought her mom, and so them as servants were like, "Okay, how can I serve you?" And so they took back Moses, and she breastfed him, and just fed him until he was like ready to get weaned off. So in that time, it's really cool because this little girl who was so brave, and she just got him and picked him up, and then took him back home, and then he went back to Pharaoh's daughter. And then you go all the way later to when Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt, and how Miriam had a huge part of that, and how in Micah 6:4 it says, I brought you up from the land of Egypt. I redeemed you from the house of bondage, and I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. So I was doing research, and it was like Miriam did a lot of, like, she led too, and she led with them, and she encouraged the women out there, and she was just encouraging them and like telling them keep on going. And she would lead in worship, and she was also a prophetess. And so that was really cool to see like her big part, and how much that she really doesn't get mentioned in the Bible. And so that's what I found out, and I thought it was really cool.